Welcome to today's training video that highlights the features of the device list. To navigate to the device list, go to Data Center Views, Device List, and the device list displays. This is a very common page, and I recommend that you add it to your shortcut bar. The use of the shortcut bar is explained in the shortcut bar training video. Okay, so let's talk through what we have here on the device list. To begin with, let me go through the columns. The device list sorts by rack number, ascending, and by rack unit descending. So here we see rack A1 first, starting from the top of the rack, going down through all the RUs to the bottom of the rack. And if we scroll down the device list, we'll see that rack A2, starting at the top of the list and going to the bottom of the list, and so forth through your data center. Most of the columns are self-explanatory. There are quite a few columns on this page. I can scroll to the right and see a host of additional device detail columns. I'll circle back and talk about some of them in a moment. The other things to notice on this page are in the footer of the page. For example, in the lower right-hand corner, I see that there are 808 total devices in the data center that I'm looking at right now. I see that the estimated utility dollars per month for these devices is $27,231 per month. I see that the allocated watts in the data center for these 808 items is 213,663 watts. And I see some interesting highlights in the power supply column, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Let me talk about standard features now of grid lists in the InCommand portal. This is a grid list, and by clicking on the header of any column, you can sort the grid list. For example, I can click on the model, and it will sort the entire list of 800 items by the model. Click again, and it will sort it in a descending. Click again, it gives it to me back in its original default. I also have these filter boxes. For example, if I wanted to see all the Dell devices that I have in the manufacturer column, I can type Dell, and now I'm looking only at my Dell computers in this data center. Looking down the lower right-hand corner again, I see that there are 53 Dell computers out of the 808 total devices in this data center. Clicking the X, I can remove that filter and get back to seeing all the devices in my data center. Another feature of InCommand grid lists is the hamburger stack. In the upper right-hand corner, clicking on the hamburger stack gives me additional functionality on this page. One, I can export the contents of this page to a CSV file. Either all the data, or if I've filtered the data down to a subset, I can export the filtered data. I also can see that I have every one of my columns here, and I can choose to hide columns or display them. For example, if I don't want to see the device type ID, it's actually already hidden. Let's say if I don't want to see the allocated watts or the allocated watt rule. Let's see, allocated watt rule. I can eliminate those two columns from the display. I can see also that I have no contents in the owner field, so maybe I don't want to see the owner field. I can go down here to the owner and click to hide it. Fear not, though. I can go back to the hamburger stack at any point in time and choose to redisplay any column that's been hidden. Another common feature in the sorting and searching is to sort for serial numbers or PO numbers or asset tags. You can do so by using the filter boxes. One more common item of grid views is the ability to resize columns. For example, I see my manufacturer column is actually too big. By going to the dividing line, clicking and dragging, I can reduce the size of that column, and I see my config description column is too small. So I can, again, click on that dividing line and enlarge that column. Any column resizing that you do is remembered, so that the next time you come to the page, the columns will be sized to your liking. I now want to talk about the special features in the device name. You'll notice that these are blue and the cursor turns into a hand when I highlight. It means these are clickable to see additional details about a device. For example, here's a Dell R710 4GB device. I click on the device name and it opens up a device detail page. It gives me the images of the device front and back, tells me, gives me specific fields of data on the device, tells me what power circuits this device is plugged into. Here we have power circuit labels. It gives the cables connected to this device. In this case, we are not tracking cables, and it gives me the device history. I can see that this R710 was commissioned against this request number. It was commissioned on November 2nd of 2016 by David Eastman. So the device detail page is very valuable for seeing details and learning about the device history. The other feature of this page that is highlighted is this red and yellow color in the power supplies. That means that if this device is red, it means there's a problem with how it's connected. We saw just a moment ago on this device that we looked at that it's connected to 2 power circuits and it's a 2 power supply device. That makes sense. Let's see what the problem is on this device. We open up the power circuit or the device detail and we see that there's no data for power connectivity. It expected 1 power circuit to be listed. So there's our problem. We need to go audit this device and find out what power circuits it's plugged into. Likewise, this yellow, it says it has 2 power supplies. If I look at it, I see that this is a 2 power supply device, but it's only connected to a single circuit. It expected 2. Once again, we need to go audit this device and make sure that we've got it connected to its power circuits correctly. The last item I'll highlight on this page is common to many pages, and it's the blue question mark by the page header. Clicking on the blue question mark gives you documentation for what's on this page. It talks about each of the column headings, it defines them, it talks about special entries in some of the column fields, has some additional notes. So if you want to quickly review and remind yourself of some of the special features on the page, you can get at it from this device list documentation, which is available at the question mark. All right, that's it for the review of the device list. Have yourself a great rest of the day.